works. Okay. Okay. Alright, let's do this. Not happy, Apple. Not happy. Alright. Hey guys, it's Biendeo. I wanted to discuss something. That has been bugging me for the past 24 hours, which is a very long time. I haven't had one of these for, I don't know, a year and a bit. I haven't been ranting about something, but you know what? I'm gonna do it. And I've Google searched it. I can't find anything about it, so I'm like, yeah, I really need to disclose this because I think it's a pretty important subject in terms of gaming and stuff. And I may as well kill two birds with one stone. I'll talk about the Wii U and stuff. Because I haven't really been doing that recently. I don't know why. Okay, first thing. iOS as a gaming platform. Don't consider it as a gaming platform. Don't compare it to gaming platforms. Because it's not a gaming... It is a gaming platform. It's not a gaming system. Okay? Okay, let me elaborate. Okay. Was it the iPod Touch that came out first, or was it the iPhone? I think it was the iPhone. No, it was the iPod Touch. Okay, the iPod Touch basically introduced this new operating system called iOS, developed by Apple. It basically allowed the device to not only have a touchscreen interface, it also allowed it to have API to be able to experience apps, which I'm going to call them programs, because I'll call them apps. It allows the user to download apps onto the device. I don't have the device, I'll hold my phone. S3, yeah. I'll hold my phone as a usage. It allows the user to download apps and then be able to run things on it. It just so happens that someone's realized, hey, you could probably put like a game or something on here, and suddenly people have caught on. People have started making games for it, and it has become a very big sensation in terms of video games. In terms of the gaming market, it's actually really ruining the handheld market. 3DS and Vita sales have really not been as good as the DS. The DS was breakthrough, I'll say that. The DS was a big shot from anything else that anyone had done besides the PS2. The DS was a very revolutionary idea, and I think iOS kind of backtracks the DS. I will say the DS, and I don't know if there was any influence on that. Maybe the Game & Watch on the design, but for the touchscreen, I think the touchscreen, I'm going to talk about this. The DS probably revolutionized gaming in terms of touchscreen interface, and I think the first game that really kind of brought this to the casual market was Brain Training over here in Australia. And okay, so what this game was it was intended for the people who weren't into gaming. It was intended for like middle-aged mothers or something. It was intended for the old casual market, okay? The casual market, okay? I want to bring up this term several times. Okay, so the casual market goes along, sees this product. It's the DS. It's cheap. It's cheapish. It's convenient. It's easy to use. It's like riding really much. So you know, lots of people buy it. And what do you know? It's a big success. And I think the DS revolutionized it in ways that would probably for the good and for the worse. For the good has ended up being on the Wii U, and I'll talk about it eventually. The worst has ended up being on the iPhone. Okay, now with the iPhone, we've suddenly got casual gaming. Now I will say there are some good games for iPhone. I'm not saying that the entire catalog is bad, but I'm saying that as a gaming system, how many very good games are there? Okay, I was watching their keynote or whatever recently when they announced the iPhone 5. I'll spend like 30 seconds on the iPhone 5. The S3 has done everything much better than the iPhone 5. The only difference is that it's iPhone, pretty much. If you want an iPhone, get an iPhone. If you want an Android, just get an Android. It's not going to change anything. But anyway, back to the topic of casual gaming. Yeah, there are some good games for iPhone, but in their recent keynote, they said the iPod Touch is the world's most famous gaming platform. Okay? Is it? This is a kind of vague statement. I can say, you know, Marilyn Monroe is probably the most famous woman in film history, and that's kind of questionable. Is she the most famous woman in film history? I don't know. Weird, I'm referencing films. Okay, it's debatable. Depending on your age bracket, depending on your interests, it's completely debatable. For the world's most famous gaming platform, that may be the case in terms of what's socially acceptable. I watched this video by this guy, and I'm just gonna scan through my history while I do this. And he talks about how gaming, as in proper gaming with a gaming device, is socially unacceptable. You will be shunned by society if you are holding a DS in public and playing it. DS right there. If you're playing your DS in public, like you're going, oh, Mario, so much fun. You will be discouraged by people. People give you like a blank stare, like, oh gosh, the guy has no life. He's like a man-child. If you're, going, oh, Angry Birds, socially acceptable. People are like, oh, he must be doing something productive, like this guy said. Who's this guy? Review Tech USA. That's his name. He actually had some very good points about one, how the Wii U is definitely receiving a bit of bad word and stuff, but enough of that. Now, yeah, also in his video, he said that he talked to this girl who he said to her that he played video games quite a fair bit and stuff, and she's just like, oh, you're one of those people, kind of, yeah. Just a discouragement, just some sort of, I can't remember the term he used, but some sort of just bad connotations with the term gaming. And then he found out that she played Farmville lots, and yeah. And like another person does like virtual soccer or whatever, and yeah. Here's the thing, casual gaming is suddenly becoming the mainstream, and suddenly actual gaming, which we all... I'd hate to use the term proper gaming, but it feels like the right term, because let's face it, casual gaming is kind of ruining the market. Okay, so let's go back to Apple. They also said that there are 175,000 apps related to games and entertainment. Games and entertainment. As I said with the Marilyn Monroe thing. Entertainment can include movies, it can include music, it can include celebrities, it can include pretty much anything that's in the media right now. Because that's not murders or anything. Like TV shows, whatever. That's entertainment. But game is only like about 10% of that. And still, that's game-related things. It's not proper... That's not actual games. You can have like game guides, that technically doesn't count as a game, but it's in the game-related sections. It's related to games, they'll count that. So you see what they've done there. They've suddenly broadened the horizon so much, but they're talking about games. But they say, oh, games is part of this. But really, it's only that much. Yeah, I know. And they're also filled with a room full of just fanboys and stuff. I mean, seriously. Why wouldn't they have fanboys? But yes. And that's one thing why I hate it. They're completely skewing the market. And just a bit of a side note back to the iPhone 5. When they said the iPhone 5 is the world's thinnest smartphone, Motorola Razr, it's 0.5 millimeters thinner. 0.5 millimeters, that's really negligible, and that's 0.5, the iPhone 5 is 0.5 millimeters thinner than that. And that is very thin. So I'm like, what's the point of being the thinnest if you're only thinnest by literally that much? Can you see that as that much? You can't even see my eyes through this. Yes. But like, what is the point of having all these statistics of the market that you're not part of. But anyway, yeah, back to iOS. Digressing so much. Okay, you know how I said, yeah, but anyway, there's a lot of apps related to it. Now, I did a bit of research. I think there's only about 2,000 or so games. Now that's a large number, 2,000 games. That's pretty large. Let's relate it to Steam. Let's say Steam. Steam releases a game pretty much like every day, okay? And these games have to be green-lighted by either the community now, but for the most part beforehand it was by a group of people who literally got paid to just say, yeah, this game is good. The App Store, they just let them come in. If it doesn't hack the device, if it doesn't infringe on copyright and stuff, yeah, it'll go in. It doesn't matter if it's complete garbage. It doesn't matter if it's like 5 seconds long. If it's justifiable, then yeah. In fact, that's how things like iRich got in there, because people don't check it. People don't check it. It's all about just whether they want to get into the thingo or not. So yeah, I've kind of come to the conclusion that there's about 2,000 games, and that won't include all the best games. If it's all the best games, I think there's only about 300 or so. That's after about 5 years of iOS. 5 years, and you've got 300 hour-long, 2-hour-long maybe games, average, that for the most part aren't as good as, say, you know, pick up a proper game from a store and stuff. Like even back in the old days. In the old days, you didn't know what was good or what was bad, but all those games for the most part had to be greenlighted by community members. I'm just showing this proof that I actually own this. For no reason. Yeah, they had to be greenlighted. They had to be made sure. They were tested by several people. They were tested by the developers to make sure it's fun. They were tested by the debug people to make sure it's fun. And then they were tested by the publishers to make sure it's fun. Everyone has to say a game is fun before they let it through, or unless they want to make a ton of money. iOS, it's only like 3 people who have to say it's fun and it'll sell. And then Apple are like, oh yeah, we can totally use it for our statistics, and say iPhone is a better system. Okay. So I've talked about how pretty much iPhone games, there's pretty much not as many. There's more number, but not as much content. Okay? Compared to DS. I'm only comparing to DS. There's several systems out there. The PS2 still alive. There's a huge library of that. I'll look it up in a second. The other fact that I want to say is that they started talking about, oh, there's almost as many Game Center accounts as there are to Nintendo DS units sold. Okay? Game Center is an account. It's not actually a representation of a game you have bought. You don't even have to buy any games for that. You can literally just be like, you can cough, but you can literally just have an iPhone. You only use it for phones, maybe you use it, like my dad, you only use it as like a pedometer, maybe. You don't use it for games, you only use it for things like organizers stuff, you know? Lots of programs like that. But, since Game Center comes with your phone, you probably would have tapped on it at least once, you would have signed up for an account, and that's it. You don't have to, like... And it's not even iPhone. If you own just an iPod Touch, if you own just an iPad, if you own just a Mac, technically, you are contributing to that value which people are associating with the handheld game market, which is not even part of the game market. Like, seriously, stop counting the Game Center on a Mac. Stop counting the Game Center on a Mac as a proper medium to brag that iOS is better. It's not. It's not a media. That's like saying how many accounts are there on Newgrounds.com. It doesn't count because that's not a proper medium. It's not a proper value of how many people have actually bought the system. It's a value of how many people have bought Apple products in general. And it doesn't even relate to handheld gaming when you get to Mac. So I mean, seriously. What else? What else am I talking about? And they also compared, oh, there are more than twice this number iPods as DS's. iPods date back to 2001, back with the iPod Classic, which actually my mum has. That only played music, and it had a game called Parachute, I believe, and it had Solitaire on it. That's about it. In your circumstance where you're gonna call an iPhone as a gaming system, you have to call every single system that has a game on it as a gaming system. Now, gaming system, what term is this? Is it just something that plays games? I mean, seriously, a calculator could be a gaming system for all we care. I'm gonna say, let's say a gaming system is something where you can add games to the library, okay? So that iPod Classic, that's not gonna count. That's not gonna count because you can't put games on it. We're gonna count, but that stat, that said 350 million iPods sold, that counts the iPod Classic where you can't put games on it. That counts the iPod Shuffle, that counts the iPod Nanos, counts all of those. There are probably only about 100 million iPod Touches. But they're counting all of those and saying, oh, iOS best system ever, okay? So yeah, let's just say all the things that you can count as devices with that are gaming devices because you can add games to them. We're gonna have to count Nokia phones, we're gonna have to count pretty much any phone from about 2002 onwards all the way to 2007. Back in the old days when you had your old Nokia phone, you had Snake on it. But nobody really realized this, but you could actually probably add games on it, just no one really developed for it. But it counts, because you can technically add games on it. You can technically add more games. And in fact, before I had an Android device, back in about 2009, I had a Nokia which had access to the OVI store, or OVI store, or whatever. The egg store, because that's technically what OVI is. Although it's grammatically incorrect, it should be OVA. Anyway, yeah. You could add games on that. That technically counts, okay? Now, back in the day, you didn't have a store, okay? But you had the internet. You had the internet in about 2003. So yeah, let's say. You could add games on that. And that's good. Now, let's say Nokia phones. Nokia phones were probably the biggest phones back in about 2003. Then suddenly iPhones started coming out, and now that's probably the most popular phone nowadays. There's competition, yes, but let's just say that. But your Nokia, the Nokias would be the most popular phone. You could technically not say that the Nokias are the most popular phone because there are about 50 Nokias. Everyone's got like a different phone. And suddenly Apple come out with this uniformity. They all run on the exact same operating system. They all run on the exact same specs, pretty much. They just have different processors and that. They all have the same screen size and all that stuff. You're going to technically say that all of those devices, while they may have run on like Symbian, they may have all been able to run all those games, they're different devices though, they don't count. I don't see your logic in this, Apple. You have to elaborate your facts. You can't just say it's a game system just because it has games. Tons of things have games. Like, you could probably make a game in PowerPoint. Microsoft Office is not considered a game system though, is it? A PC borderlines it because you can have games on it. It's a very expansive game library. It's pretty much infinite by this stage, but it's technically not a full-fledged game system because it's more so a platform. It's a medium that you can release your games on. iPhone is a medium. It's a medium because you're not saying, oh, I've got a DS, therefore I can play every DS game. You're saying, oh, I've got an iPhone, I can play every iPhone game for about 2 years. Then I'll get another iPhone, so I can play all the iPhone games after that. Like, you guys gotta make sure that you define your game library category. And speaking of which, just a side note on Apple, they never compare themselves to coughing so much, I need like a glass of water. They never compare themselves to Android or stuff. They never say, oh, we've got more stuff than Android. They never say that. They say we're beating PC sales. I mean, like, so what? So what that you're beating? Sorry, proportionate PC sales. And I'm sorry, but PCs have probably about 80% of the computer market, and Macs have about 8%. I still don't know why people say Macs are the most popular systems. They are not the most popular. They may be the most advanced, so to speak, but is advanced what people want? They say it's the most advanced, but it's actually the most simplistic. Some weird marketing there, Apple, okay? Now I'll just kind of digress a bit. That's pretty much all I wanted to say about iPods and stuff. I just want to really rage on the iPod, because I just keep hearing people say that iPods are the best things to play games on. They're not. I think just as a game system, I find them probably the more annoying ones. One, because I've actually kind of eliminated the problem on this. With a 4.8-inch screen, your thumbs aren't covering as much of the screen. Like, say I'll just keep my thumbs here, I can at least see, like, this kind of area on the screen. I'll turn on my screen just so I can kind of... I'll see this kind of area. Yes, that's my home screen. I'll see that kind of area, and I'll have my thumbs here, so that's all good. On an iPod, the screen probably ends about here. That's about the screen, so therefore I'm covering more proportion of the screen. And that's why I didn't like the iPhone, because I'm just like, the screen is too small. Sure, they're making the screen that way, which is probably the best thing, make the aspect ratio good, but by this stage, then iOS is kind of messed up, because now suddenly everyone's got to reinterpret their apps so that they can extend to that. Otherwise they letterbox, and letterboxing just makes it pointless by that stage. And that's all I've got to say about iOS, really. The iPhone 5, really. They've gone in the right direction. iPhone 5, they just haven't gone enough in that direction. They're a bit cut short. They're saying, oh, maybe we'll increase the screen a bit, but, you know, everyone else has a huge screen, and the iPhone's still kind of on 4-inch, okay? Now, I'm gonna talk about the Wii U now. Okay. iPhone out of the way mostly. I may refer to it 1 or 2 times. Okay, the Wii U. Firstly, I'm recording this on the 14th of September. The Wii U has just been announced for prices and dates. It's November 30th in Australia, November 18th in America land. And I think it's a genius idea. Now, I'm not saying Apple are crap. I'm saying the fan base is crap. Apple are geniuses in managing to market everything just the right way, just so it skews your audience's reactions. Although it makes me upset, because I'm seeing through all their faults. They're really outstating themselves. They're talking, they're bluffing, really. They're bluffing Apple. But anyway, with Nintendo, they've managed to capture the Wii U at just the right time. First of all, my first positive comment about it is that the game lineup. The 3DS had a crappy game lineup. It's got some good games, yes, but at launch, most of the best games were just ports. Ocarina of Time came out about 3 months later, and Street Fighter 4, they were all released before. It took about until Mario 3D Land before the 3DS finally got some, you know, good titles. And still, most of the titles are really only first party. And that's one thing I wish people would do. I wish some people would go to the 3DS and actually kind of make some games for it, because honestly, I'm relying heavily on first-party titles to keep the 3DS good. Maybe, you know, the Wii U may bring some people over. But speaking of the Wii U has had a brilliant launch library. First of all, a few of the exclusives, such as Trine 2, Bayonetta 2, and Rayman Legends, they're all sequels of games that were on other systems. In fact, only Rayman Origins was the only game that was on a Wii before. The other two weren't on Wii, so, someone correct me, maybe. But, considering the other two weren't on Wii, and now they're only on Wii U, so, like, what's happened there? That'll get people buying your system, same like, why is Pokemon Black and White 2 coming out for Nintendo DS? That's not how you're gonna get people to buy a 3DS. Okay, why are you releasing Pokemon Conquest on DS and not 3DS, you know? Unless if you've been taking this long to develop it, in which case I don't understand why exactly you just can't release on Wii U or 3DS, you know? You're not gonna get people buying a system if they can still have it on their old system. Like Dragon Quest X, people would probably still be buying it on the Wii just because it's come out on the Wii already. But anyway, yeah. And that, while that's not announced yet for the Wii U, I'm looking forward to Dragon Quest X. But anyway, for first-party titles, there's really only Nintendo Land and Pikmin 3, and I'm gonna quickly scroll over to the page. Okay. Yeah, there's really only, like, Pikmin and Nintendo Land, and Nintendo Land I think is a good idea. I was a little bit questionable. I was wondering, does it come with the system at launch? Because Wii Sports did so well in capturing people's attention. It drew people over to the Wii, it showed off exactly what the Wii could do, and people were addicted from it. And I was going, Nintendo Land's kind of the same deal, except it's not coming at launch. Oh, sorry, it's not coming with the system. And then they announced the Deluxe Bundle, and that comes with Nintendo Land, and I'm very happy because of that, because seriously, that's one thing that's gonna get people carried over. If there's a good game that will show off everything. As for Pikmin, I haven't seen that much footage of Pikmin. I can only assume it's similar, but it's just gonna introduce new mechanics and stuff, and HD graphics will make it look pretty. I'm relying on the graphics to make it a better game. That's kind of a strange thought, but okay. What are the other ones? I'm actually kind of excited for Lego City. I don't know, it reminds me of Grand Theft Auto, except without the drug references, and I'm just like, that's good. I'm not a big fan of explicit stuff. Like, I'd probably avoid the explicit. I didn't like Saints Row the Third just because it was just like, oh, stop talking about freaking thingos. And also New Super Mario Bros. U, I haven't talked about that, but while it does seem a little bit unimaginative, I do like the direction of making it difficult. I thought New Super Mario Bros. 2 went in the right direction of making it difficult, but it didn't quite make it difficult because they freaking... There is literally a quarter of a life on this front cover alone. You could probably count a quarter of a life on this front cover alone. And then it's only the rest of the 3/4 of the life on the back of the box. Like, you could literally find enough coins for a 1-up on this box alone. So that's one problem I have with the 3DS one. As for the Wii one, I haven't seen that much footage. It barely looks any different than the Wii one. But hopefully they're gonna try and do some things different. The acorn suit just reminds me of the Tanuki tail way too much. But yeah, you know, if it's difficult, it will definitely get people captured over. It will suddenly start dragging that hardcore market back. What else is there? There's Wii Fit. Wii Fit. Enough said. And then there's Sing Party. I don't have to say much about that other than, what the heck are Freestyle Games doing? Make another DJ hero, yo! Throw shizzle, mate! What else? Game & Wario? That hasn't been documented enough. I barely know anything about it other than, is it a minigame collection? I thought they may be going WarioWare, but no, they're just going Game & Wario. Which is fine and all. I love the WarioWare games, although I don't know why they didn't make one for 3DS, because that would have totally dragged people over. The WarioWare games are very good at enticing me into getting a system. Like, I honestly bought the Wii for the main intention of playing WarioWare, and it was so much fun. What else? There's Call of Duty Black Ops 2. All I can say is, do something different, and that's good. And especially with the Wii U, they've got tons of opportunity for it. There's Tank. I don't know much about that. Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transform. That looks pretty promising, although it's kind of stealing some ideas from Mario Kart 7. But I played the first one. It's actually quite fun. What else? Assassin's Creed 3. Never played any of them, but if it's a launch title on this system, it'll definitely get people over. Rabbids Land. That's a good... No. I don't know, I don't trust rabbits anymore. But Rayman Legends? Sure! What else? Nearing the end. Zombie U. That game actually looks very, very fun, and I definitely like a few of the design options, such as, like, such as A Persistent World, partially, even though DayZ kind of did it, but we'll kind of ignore that. And what else? That's about it. I like its attempt at integrating the gamepad, and I'll start talking about that a bit later. There's Batman Arkham City, already played on PC, I don't feel like getting it again. And then the Scribblenauts, probably the same as the DS, maybe. But considering that they've got all these games, and they're definitely coming out with a few big titles already. No ports, crap, there are quite a few ports. But the recent ports, they're not frickin' Street Fighter 4, which came out like 2 years before the 3DS, and then Ocarina of Time, which came out like 13 years. As much as they improve on it, they have to make sure. It depends on the new games, and the games are exclusive and whatnot, because not as many people would be buying the ports. But now I'm going to talk about the system itself. First of all, I like the deluxe bundle. I'm probably going to get the deluxe set, because I'm probably going to want Nintendo Land with it, and the extra data, and the subscription to Nintendo thingo. Nintendo's website doesn't say anything, but apparently Wikipedia says that there's some sort of subscription service. So I'm going, that'd probably be nice. I don't know what's with the subscription though. Deluxe digital promotion. I think that's it. Yeah, that's what they say on their website. What do I think? I think the gamepad is a very good idea. I think there's a lot of opportunity for it. There's a lot of potential. There's a lot of other words I mean potential. There's a lot of things they can do. It's not gonna be a gimmick. It's gonna be like the DS. It's just gonna really integrate things quite seamlessly. The Wii Remote worked in ways. It didn't work as a gimmick where you could use it as whatever you want. It just became kind of awkward like that. But it made a pointer on the screen. It just made that concept seem so natural. And I liked that, because it started making the console a lot easier to navigate. Instead of having to find out like what buttons do, you just go point click. It's like a computer. It's just point click. That's how you do it. That's what phones pretty much do. It's just point tap. Or just tap, because you don't really have to point. And I think with the Wii U, since it is pretty much point tap, since it's going to be operating on the Wii U tablet for the most part, I know it's called the gamepad, but I'll be occasionally referring to it as the tablet. I definitely do think there's a lot of potential, and I don't think it's a gimmick. It's not a gimmick. Probably not. I'm not quite sure about the near-field communication, but we'll just ignore that. Oh gosh, my throat. Okay, what else? Reports about the Wii U being worse hardware. I'm going to start talking about the hardware a little bit. Why the heck would Nintendo release something worse? Again, whatever the channel was, Review Tech USA, they said, why the heck would Nintendo release worse hardware than what is around? That's not how they're going to do it. They're not going to release hardware like that. Okay? The reason why Xbox they've got better hardware. That's one thing why it costs a bit more, but I'll start talking about that. It's gonna have better hardware, but considerably not brand new, like what the Xbox and the PS3 were attempting to do. They were attempting to say, oh my gosh, 256-bit graphics or whatever. It looks photorealistic, let's do it. The Wii was just like, you know what, let's cut back on it, we'll do that next time. And instead we'll have an affordable price. And suddenly the Wii is the best-selling system of that generation, and that's why I love the Wii, because the Wii was affordable, and so therefore you could buy more games with it. You could probably buy another 3 or so games with the money that you could have bought for an Xbox. And you also got Wii Sports with it, so like say you could buy like Twilight Princess and all that stuff. You literally had like a good collection of games already for the Wii, and the Wii had a good launch as well. While the Xbox and the PS3 had good launches for the most part, the PS3 was delayed in Europe and Australia, so that's why nobody really bought the PS3 as much as the Xbox. Just that one factor, seriously. If that didn't exist, the PS3 would have outsold the Xbox, but other than that, people were just going, oh crap, I gotta wait 3 months and I'll just get an Xbox. But yeah, since they're releasing this system at a cheaper price for the base model than the original Wii, in Australia at least. In America it was $250, I think, when the Wii was released, and now it's $300 for the Wii U. But here, it's $350 for the Wii U standard, but it was $400 for the original Wii when that came out, and the deluxe for us is $430, which I think that's actually a very good price. I mean, seriously, you've just improved on everything. You have an extremely expensive tablet controller, and you still make it the same price as its competitors, which are 6 years old. Suddenly you have something that's brand new, something that's going to be supported for 5 years, something that has everything better than the other systems, and it's the same price, or slightly more. People are going to buy this, they're not going to buy their Xboxes. Suddenly Nintendo have got the upper hand. They've suddenly released their system before. People are going to buy that. With the similar deal with the Dreamcast, really. The Dreamcast sold rather well for its short lifespan. It sold rather well considering it had no advertising and stuff. It was based on just people going along with Sega and word of mouth, really. PlayStation 2, that was a hand of good advertising, and since they were still 2 years ahead of the GameCube and the Xbox, they had that 2-year gap to suddenly build up their support. So lots of people bought the PS2, including me. And suddenly the PS2 has become the best-selling system of all time, and it's still around today, and it might even outlive the Atari 2600. Seriously, if the PS2 lasts for another 3 years, it will be older than the Atari 2600. And that's kind of saying something, considering the Atari 2600 lived for like so long. It's older than the Japanese Atari 2600. But anyway, besides that, Nintendo have got the timing so right. They've got all these good games. They've got all these sequels of good games. They've got a very interesting idea. They've got developers all on their side. They've got the timing right, so people who are looking for a game system are gonna go over to the Nintendo because they've suddenly got the newer system now. And you know what? Nintendo even had the upper hand. Since you only need one gamepad for the most part, and you'll just be using your Wii remote controllers for the rest, suddenly you've got people saying, oh, you know what, it's going to be cheaper in the long run as well, because when the new system come out, you're going to be needing to buy more controllers for them. Suddenly Nintendo have gone, oh yeah, that's a good idea. Just use your old controllers, integrate that with the thing. And that's a brilliant idea, Nintendo. I'm glad you've done all of this. Now, I'm going to say this right now, I'm biased against Apple, I'm biased for Nintendo, I will say that. I'm more so biased against Apple, just Apple. I'm pro Nintendo, but I like the ideas of Microsoft and Sony. I enjoy their endeavors, but I feel like Nintendo definitely have the upper hand right now. They've got the handheld market because, one, Microsoft aren't doing anything there, and Sony just never advertised their Vita. That's the other thing. The Vita has fallen just the same way as the Dreamcast. No advertising. What else about the Nintendo Wii U, really? The Miiverse idea I like a lot. I think that works quite well. In fact, with the Zombie U, a persistent world kind of, a constant community, that is actually a very nice idea, and I think that if they can integrate it very well with the system, I mean, they're dedicating system processes, they're dedicating half of the available memory just in keeping the processes up, so you can stay in touch with your friends, you can still interact with strangers from another world, or across the country, whatever. You know, you can definitely do all that, and I think the Miiverse works to an extent, but I don't know any stats about it really. Yeah. What else? The TV, I'm a little bit mixed opinion about it. I like the idea, but the problem is that people have got their Android TVs, they've got their Apple TVs, they can buy movies on that, they've got their Foxtel for the most part over here, you can do that already. And that's what I've got, and I actually have my own separate TV for video games, because my sister watches TV normally anyway, and I have my own TV, so I can play the video games. Suddenly, when the the Wii U comes out, and I can play these games on the tablet instead of the system, it's a bit debatable. It's like yes and no. I might enjoy the free services on the TV. I might enjoy that. I especially like what they're doing with sport and stuff, where you can actually honestly just say, "Oh, I like this play. I'll share that to my friends." I think that was done pretty well. I really like the integration with actual TV, because I think that's something that no one else has really done. Integrated live TV with social networking, and I think that's a pretty good idea. So suddenly with social networking, they're starting to introduce casual gamers to this. That's bringing hardcore gamers back into Nintendo. They've got the casual games coming up, and we're suddenly going to get this nice little ball of people who play video games. And that's kind of weird, considering, just a side note, that's kind of weird considering I don't like Apple, but I like the most Apple-like company of all of gaming. It's kind of a strange idea, but other than that, though, I don't think there's really that much I can talk about the Wii U. We just gotta wait another 2 months for it to come out before people can give their honest opinions about it. That being said, though, there are a lot of events they've had, and people have given it great feedback and stuff. And you could criticize that the Wii U game screen 480p on a 6-inch tablet, but this is 720p on a 5-inch screen. You're going, oh gosh, not good resolution. And that's not the intention. This has the same screen size as the top screen, has the same screen size as an iPhone, but it only has about a 1/9 of the pixels. So what? It's all about the game. That's what Reggie said. And Reggie is always right. His body was ready. Anyway, I think that's about it, really. Oh, my throat is sore. Anyway, yeah, so I'm sorry to rant again, but it was necessary. It was necessary. Ugh.